Well, estate planning can be an overwhelming and intimidating process. It can also be expensive, so you may want to take note of our next segment. A local law firm is hosting 2 free estate planning clinics in Kingsport. Here to tell us more about that is attorney Chad Whitfield with the law firm of Hunter, Smith & Davis. And Chad, it's good to have you on the show.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Thank you for making it in this morning.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
So this is sort of a way that you guys are kind of giving back in celebration of quite a milestone, I understand.
Well, we are. This is what we're calling our Century of Excellence. It's 100 years now we've been here in the community. We're based in Kingsport and Johnson City. And so as part of this celebration, we're kind of going to give back to the community in several ways. And the first way is we're doing this free clinic, estate planning clinic in Kingsport. It'll be at the Renaissance Center on January 28th. And we're doing 2 clinics. One will be at 4 and one at 5:30. I'll be there presenting myself and also Rachel Mansell, one of our other lawyers. And we'll be discussing things like estate planning, which means living trust, wills, powers of attorney, things like that. It can be a very stressful time. When you do estate planning, most folks have a crisis point in their life. Someone's passed away or a health issue. And if you can do some planning ahead of time, it can really minimize the expense and the emotional stress during that process.
So you have 2 clinics that you're offering. One is at 4, one's at 5:30, both taking place a week from tomorrow.
That's correct, yes.
And we were talking a little bit about this process, and like you said, usually something happens and then it triggers that. But if you can do it early, it is a process, and it can be a little overwhelming.
That's correct. I always tell my clients, they come in and they see me, and a lot of clients will come in at the very last minute when mom or dad has fallen, or they have Alzheimer's, things like that. If they can come and see the attorney a little bit earlier, a year or 2 before that crisis happens, and get things in place like a power of attorney or a healthcare power of attorney, that then lets the family know what their wishes are, what their desires are, and it has a plan in place that can simplify and ease that process. But if you don't do it in the proper time and enough planning ahead of time, it can be quite costly on the back end, and a lot of times things can't be done properly or things get overlooked when you don't have enough time to plan for things.
And when it comes to estate planning, some people may think, well, I really don't have that much. I don't need to do this type of planning. But really, you have a lot more than you think you have. And even if you're not dealing with property and things like that, there are other things.
There are. I tell people, they think about like a will or a living trust, and they hear the word estate planning, but I tell them powers of attorney, both healthcare and financial, are just as important, because if you have a parent that gets sick and they have no documents in place, there is no law that says because you're their child, you have the right to interact with the hospital or the funeral home, so you have to have these documents in place to take care of those situations like that.
And also, you're going to be talking about some of the big mistakes that people make, which I think is so important.
We are. We call it our Dirty Dozen seminar, the dozen mistakes that a lot of people make when they don't do estate planning the right way. And so at these clinics, we'll be discussing how to avoid those mistakes and what you can do to minimize those mistakes if you have to go through this process.
Because there are a lot of things that you can get into that can be wrong, and that can cause
a lot of
things.
A lot of people don't realize, if you're married in Tennessee and you have a child and you don't have a will, if you pass away, your assets don't go to all to your spouse. There's a law in place that says part goes to your spouse, part goes to your children. And most clients don't want that. So just having a simple will in place can remedy that problem right there.
Yeah, a lot of information.
Yes.
Well, wonderful opportunity coming up. You said you don't need to register.
Not at all. Don't register. Just show up. It'll be January 28th at 4 and 5:30 at the Renaissance Center in Kingsport. And just show up, and we'll share some stuff with you, estate planning tips and tools, and kind of go from there.
Well, congratulations on your anniversary.
Thank you. We appreciate it. We're very, very, very humble and very blessed.
Well, thank you so much for what you're doing to give back to the community. There is that information. If you would like some of that, you are welcome to attend one of those seminars at 4 and 5:30. Stay with us. More of Daytime right after this.